to season 6 of my podcast. Today, my guest is Anuj Gurwara, who is an award winning singer, an actor, an MC, a voice artist, a radio jockey, and a television show host. His Telugu song, Panchadara Boma, from the movie Makadira, won him the Best Male Playback Singer award from the prestigious Filmfare Awards South, along with many more awards. Hi Anuj, welcome to my show.
Hi Vedant, thank you. I am so happy to be here. I've heard a lot of your episodes, and I'm very happy that very honored actually that you decided to talk to me as well. Because I have a very interesting story. If I can take a couple of minutes. So when this was back in 2021, and you had just done a few episodes going into your podcast, and I'd heard a lot because, of course, we are all connected through a very close family friend circle. And I started hearing some of your episodes, and I was so happy to hear the way you were conducting the episodes that, believe it or not, it was one of the inspirations for me to start my podcast at that time. So thank you for helping me and being one of the inspirations for me to start my own podcast. And yeah, so I wanted to say that to you on air, and I wanted to say it live. So I'm very happy to be here, finally being interviewed by you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I've inspired a lot of people to start
Wonderful.
their own podcast. My cousin and a few other people.
Excellent.
So Anuj, singing, acting, MCing, and everything else that you do are so many different talents. I'm curious to know, how do you do it all?
Well, all of these things that I do, I don't consider them work. It's something that I completely enjoy, and it is a way of life for me, of doing and pursuing things that give me joy and give me happiness. So all of these professions and careers, of course, they are ways through which I also earn a living. But most importantly, I have a lot of fun. And when you love something, when you enjoy something, you automatically find the energy to make time for it. When you don't enjoy something, you find excuses to not do it. But when you love it, you make time for it. So that's how I think, because all of us have the same 24 hours, and I just choose to do things that give me a lot of joy and happiness, and I've thankfully been able to continue doing it for many years now.
Yeah, it sounds really fun doing all of those things,
Yeah.
especially acting.
Yes, it is because you get to play so many characters, not just while acting on screen or on stage, but even when you are doing you're lending your voice to a project, and even you're doing a character, but you are doing it in an audio format. When you are hosting a show, you are putting on a character which is entertaining an audience while standing on stage. So all of these have a little bit of acting. They're all interconnected, and it's basically you're performing for an audience, you're entertaining them or giving them information, and it's a lot of fun doing all of this.
Yeah, because when you do acting, or if you're a radio artist, maybe like what you are,
Hmm.
or even you, or yeah, the entire world or an entire city can see you. Like they can either go to the cinema or watch your movie, or they can just sit in their car or sit at home and listen to your show.
Hmm. You're right. And while it's a great feeling, I'm telling you, because when I was on radio and I knew that the entire city is listening to me, hundreds of thousands of people were listening to me every evening, it gives you a lot of pride that you are able to give them a certain, a positive value in their life. It is also a big responsibility, because when someone chooses to take the time out to listen to you, like for instance, Vedant, when you do a podcast, there are a lot of people who tune into your podcast, right? But at that time, they could have chosen to do anything else. They could have listened to music, they could have played a game, they could have gone out, but they chose to listen to your podcast, which means it is a big responsibility on the person who is creating this value and entertainment to add something positive to the life of the people who are giving you their time and attention. So it's a great feeling that people tune in and they listen, but it's also a very important responsibility that we all carry.
Yeah, it is. Because imagine if people are listening to you, but you just don't do anything. It's just a blank show, nothing.
Correct. You're right. Absolutely. So you have to put in that effort. You have to be prepared. You have to be aware. You have to be informed. And then you have to keep practicing on how to do it better year after year, month after month. You have to keep, because you owe it to the people who are listening to you.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and like you do it so well. I mean, 100+ episodes. You've been doing such a wonderful job, and I'm sure you have also felt that from your first few episodes to now, you also have become more confident. You also have become, you've started enjoying it. You found different ways to interview people. So I'm sure you are also getting better at it.
Yeah, I think I am. And and congratulations on all the awards you won. As a budding musician like myself, I learned the drums. My drum
Mm,
set is right next to me, actually.
wow.
I would like to know more about your journey to becoming a playback singer.
Hmm. Thank you. Of course, the awards were a huge milestone in my life. It was very unexpected, and I did not realize that the song. I didn't know that the song would become so huge, and it still continues to the day. But I'm very grateful to people who loved it, and to budding musicians, and especially you as a drummer. I think the drummer is the pillar of a band, to keep the beat, to keep the rhythm, the tempo. If the drummer goes off key or off beat, the entire band, the rhythm falls apart. So I think it's a very, very important pillar of any musical ensemble. But for any musician or any artist or anyone who is choosing to pursue any kind of passion, whether it is painting, whether it is music, all you have to do is be disciplined, be consistent, keep practicing every single day, even if it is for 15 minutes. A routine is very important, because only when you take those little steps every day, then after a few months, after a year, you are significantly ahead of where you began. So that discipline of practicing, of riyaz, like they say, of rehearsals, of constantly finding what better I can do. Am I better today than I was yesterday? Not better than anybody else, but better today than myself than I was yesterday. So your benchmark has to be what you were, and how can I take it one step ahead? You don't have to be 10 steps ahead within 2 days. You can take one step ahead today, then one step ahead tomorrow, and then one step ahead the next day. And a year later, you are 365 steps ahead of where you began. Yeah. So it just begins with that one step of getting better every day, and be committed to it. Don't do it because of likes. Don't do it because of how many people will comment on your post, or, just do it because you love it, and keep getting better at it. That's the only advice I will give.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and I will follow it. And anyone else who's listening, who also plays music, please listen to this advice.
Hmm.
Yeah, I every day I try and practice my drums, and every week I have lessons.
Hmm. And sometimes, do you feel that, oh, this lesson, I did it faster than I expected to? Do you sometimes feel that,
Yeah,
oh wow, hey, I just did this, you surprise yourself? Do you feel that?
yeah.
Yeah, then what do you do?
And then I go home and I try to practice and improve on it. So
Improve on
next
it.
time, so a
Hmm.
week later, when it's my lesson again, I can show my teacher what I've done.
Nice. And then it feels nice, doesn't it, that, hey, it's a sense of achievement, that, hey, I managed to cross this level of, or this degree of difficulty.
Yeah, like I'm close to finishing the second book of learning drums.
Wow. Wow.
It feels really good.
That's it. Hold on to that feeling. That is important.
You have done a lot of dubbing of English and Telugu movies into Hindi.
Hmm.
What is the process you go through for this? Like, do you have to read the original the original script from the original movie and then just translate it into Hindi?
Well, so there are two ways that to go about it. One is that when there is a particular production that has been created. So, like for instance, when I translated the entire Telugu film called Iga into the Hindi film called Makhi. So I was given the responsibility of translating that entire film into Hindi. So which means I got the Telugu original. And then because I don't speak Telugu very fluently, they explained to me what the lines meant, what the words meant, right? And then I wrote down the Hindi script for it. Now, the way I wrote it is you have to coordinate the words that you are writing with the lip movement of the actors. So that if the actor is on screen, if the actor is saying a word which ends in O, you cannot use a Hindi word that ends in A, because the mouth sounds very different. So you have to find ways to rephrase that sentence so that the Hindi word sentence also ends with a word or a sound called O, because you have to match the lip of the actor. The challenge on that is also that you have to use words which can justify the kind of film that is being made. Suppose it is a film that is being made in ancient times. You cannot use modern language, right? Similarly, if a film is being made in the modern world, you cannot use language which is from the 1950s or 1940s, right? So you have to keep understanding what kind of language works for that film, what kind of words work for that film, because language is constantly evolving, right? That is one way to do it. The second way is where I just go into a studio. I'm called by somebody who has already written the film, who has already translated it, where I don't have the responsibility of translating the language. So all I do is I see the script and I dub over the lines of the actor who is dubbing it. So basically, at that point of time, I have the original script in front of me. I have the dubbed script with me, and I try and match the actor's tone. I try to match the actor's lip movement, the personality of the actor through my voice. And that's how I try and do it. So both of these processes are extremely complex. They are, of course, not easy to do. But at the end of the day, when you are able to create a particular story in a different language, I think it's a great level of satisfaction you get, because you were able to create it for a very different audience. And then voice acting comes in, where you have a lot of speech tips and tricks, that you use, whether it is how you use your tongue, how you use your lips, how you use your throat, your breathing. There are lots of things that go into voice acting. So it's a very different world in itself, very different from acting. But once the main actor has done their job, then to put it in another language, we become the actors without faces. We act only through our voice, and we hope to create that same emotion and experience that the main actor is creating.
I also read that you did the dubbing for lots of the Avengers movies. That must have been a huge achievement to you.
Yes, it is. It is. I am the official Hindi voice of the Falcon. I have been the official Hindi voice since 2014, since 2014, when the Falcon came out in the first film. And ever since then, wherever the Falcon has appeared, I am the official Hindi voice, because my tone of voice, the way I speak, the way I act out that character, the producers liked it very much, and then it stuck to the actor, because whenever Falcon came in, they've asked me to do the voice. So that's been a very prestigious project for me. And it's of course it's a international blockbuster series, and it's a huge thing that I'm able to be a small part in that production.
Yeah, I would be really, really honored.
Yeah, I am too. I am very honored to do that.
As a radio jockey and an MC, how do you come up with the format and content of your shows?
So now the thing about radio jockeying or hosting a show or being an MC is that every single time that you step on stage, you have to add value to the person who is listening to you. Now, value in terms of either entertainment or value in terms of information, right? So let me separate these two worlds. So radio is basically you come on to a show every day, and every single day people are logging in to or tuning into the radio station to listen to you. So you have to come up with new things every single day because they are listening to you every day. Imagine, Vedant, if I came to your house every single day to talk to you in the evening. I said, hey, Vedant, let's sit and talk. After 3 days, first day, 2 days, you'll be like, oh, okay, great. Third day, you'll be like, oh, he's here again. Fourth day, why are you coming again to my house? Let's take a break. Let's meet after a few days. But for me, if I want to meet you every single day, I should have something interesting and exciting to tell you every day. Whether I make you laugh, whether I make you feel something, whether I make you remember, days or times. Suppose it is adults, do I make them remember their childhood? Suppose it is teenagers, do I make them think about the future or their past? So every single day, you come up with ways to make people feel and make people think new things. So you're playing the same format of the show. There are songs and you're talking and there are some advertisements. But in between all of that, if you are able to give people something that stirs their emotions every single day, even if it is a little bit, they will come back and listen to you the next day and the next day again. Right? Now, with emceeing, it's very different because when you're hosting a show, you have been engaged by a particular person who is organizing the show. So sometimes that show, every time the show has a particular purpose. Sometimes it is to celebrate, maybe there's a wedding in the family. So you want to celebrate a moment with the family members. Sometimes it is a corporate event where it is a company event where all the company people who've been working very hard, they come and once a year, they come and celebrate all the achievements and success that they have. Sometimes there is a product that is being launched by a company in the market. So you have to talk about that product. So all of these scenarios, you have to understand what is the message that the organizer wants to convey to the audience. Sometimes it is family and social message. Sometimes it is a, hey, let's all have fun, let's all party, let's make our plans for the future kind of event. Sometimes the organizer wants to tell the people that, hey, we've created a new product and this is how it is going to change your life, or this is how it is going to help you in your everyday life. So you have to understand what is the message that they want people to take away from this event, and then you structure your entire content accordingly. Now you can't suddenly just go on stage and say, hey, I'm going to talk about the product. You have to again make them feel or think, make them understand what they could feel about this product coming in, what they could feel about this wedding that they are attending, what they could feel about the whole year's hard work that they have done. There are so many themes. So you have to understand exactly what the organizer wants. And your job is, whether it is in a humorous way, whether it is in an emotional way, whether it is in a straightforward, simple, formal way, how do you convey the thoughts of the organizer to the audience in an entertaining and an informative way? So this is emceeing and radio. But effectively, it is all about making your audience feel or think. Because if they are not just feeling or thinking, if they just laugh and go away, then they will forget. But if you can make someone feel something, whether it is with your voice, whether it is with your body language, whether it is with your content, they will keep wanting to listen to you and they will remember you for a longer time. So that is how you entertain or inform audiences. That is communication.
I should ask my listeners if they think I'm like that.
I'll tell you what is so wonderful about your podcast and the episodes that you do. Why it is so endearing and so lovely to listen to, because you keep it very simple. You actually take questions in a very simple format and you ask people simple questions, and those questions are in everybody's minds. And you don't even know maybe those questions everybody wants to ask. But the simpler you keep it, the easier it becomes to communicate. Communication should be simple. It should not be complicated. You should not need to use big words. It is not required. It should be simple. It should be honest. It's like you don't put on an act every day. You are exactly like the way you are, correct? So it's easy for you also to maintain the podcast, maintain your tone, how you talk to people, because you are being exactly yourself. If you were playing a character saying, "Hey, I'm Vedant and I'm going to do a podcast," it's difficult to maintain it every single day. Yeah. But that's the beautiful thing about your podcast is how simple and honest you are in the way you conduct it. And it's short and sweet. And that's why people like to come and listen to it again.
Thank you so much. Appreciation coming from such an accomplished person like you means a lot to me. I'm learning to play the drums, like I said earlier, like my drum set's next to me. And I've also been hosting this podcast, which you're on right now.
Yep.
Would you like to share some tips with me to grow up in these fields?
Well, clearly, drumming and podcasting is something that you love deeply, right? Now, you do these two separately, I assume. You are drumming on the side and then you're also doing podcasting on the side. Have you ever thought of combining the two?
Oh, no, I haven't.
So why don't you think of it this way? Experiment. Even on a phone, you can do this. Why don't you create a small drum roll for yourself and create a title jingle or a title, little introduction to yourself that, "Hey, I'm Curious Vedant and I'd like to talk to people from different walks of life." Yeah. So you can do something like that where the music is yours. You have created your own introduction, a little 5-second introduction, and you have added your drumming skills and your podcasting skills together. So why don't you see if you can do that?
Yeah. Well, actually, before I created this podcast, when we were thinking about it, I was on my iPad on GarageBand one day, and I just made this song on GarageBand.
Yeah.
My father and mother said, "Wow, that's really nice. Maybe we could use that for the podcast." And I still use that today as my starting and ending theme.
Excellent. So what you could also do is maybe just create like a 30-second entry into every episode, and maybe a 5-second interesting drum roll to introduce every guest. So when you introduce the guest, when you give their introduction on the podcast, in the background you could have a little drum roll going saying, "And here's so and so, here's Anuj, or here is Divya," or you could just introduce them with a drum roll, and that drum roll is something that you have created. And then every time maybe the guest says something interesting, you could have a little a snare or a hi-hat going, like a dish. It could make it fun to listen to also.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's good. I'll try it out.
Yeah, do that.
We'll see. Maybe it will be really nice. I think it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should try that.
And then maybe because you have an iPad, you can additionally layer on a couple of more instruments and then just make a little sting out of it, a little jingle out of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good idea. I'll try it. What made you choose to enter the entertainment industry? Well, I mean, it sounds really fun, and from everything you described, it seems like it's like really fun.
It is a lot of fun. It is also a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of energy, enthusiasm. You have to love it, and you have to. I didn't really choose to be in the entertainment industry. I was drawn to it, and I chose to not do anything else. That's the difference. I was very drawn to it because right from my childhood, I had a talent for being on stage, whether it was singing, whether it was talking, whether it was, entertaining audiences. So thankfully, my parents spotted my talent at a young age and, allowed me to grow and to develop and build it like your parents, for instance, the podcast that you've been doing. They have a huge hand and a huge role in encouraging you and constantly building that podcast world around you. They've helped you come such a long way for you to be so confident. Yeah. So going forward, there are so many more things that you can do. Like that, when I started showing talent of singing, my parents, my mother and father, would sing along with me. And they would allow me wherever family functions happened or in school. I would always be encouraged to go on stage and sing or talk and participate in debates and elocutions and all of that. So from there, I loved being on stage. And that's when I got into college. I experimented with professional theater for the first time. Like, I did a play in front of an audience for the first time, and I loved being there. I loved being on stage, and I just kept following that, and one thing led to the other. So it's not been a very deliberate choice. I've just gone with the flow of what I enjoyed. So if I enjoyed it, I did it. If I didn't enjoy it, I stayed away from it, and that decided my entire career.
Yeah. Yeah, you already told me that you already had a skill,
Yeah.
but before you knew about it, before you knew that this was going to be your future, what did you want to be as a child?
Oh, what did I want to be as a child? See, during my time now, when we were growing up, I don't know how much it is now, to some extent, even now. But if you ask people what do they want to become, they say, I want to become a scientist. I want to become a pilot. Um, Growing up as a child, I really did not know very clearly what I wanted to be. I just knew that when I was on stage, I was very comfortable. When I was not on stage, I'm actually very shy as a person. I'm very socially awkward. I'm an introvert, when I'm not on stage. But when I get on stage, I suddenly there's a different change in me. My eyes light up, my entire body language changes. So I knew that I was comfortable facing an audience. But the moment I would come off the stage, I would go back to being shy and being a little introvert and being a little socially awkward. So I just knew that that stage somewhere did something to me. I didn't exactly know what I wanted to become, but this I knew where I was comfortable and where I was not.
So you didn't have any one thing that you were aiming to become? Like, you didn't say, I think I want to be a scientist?
No, not one thing. My mind is too much filled with too many thoughts for me to just do one thing. And as I grew up, I realized that all we have is one life, all of us, each one of us, and in this life, do as much as you can. I have a tattoo on my right arm. It's called One Life. So it keeps reminding me every day that this is all we have, and you have to do as much as you can. Experiment with everything. Take a trial with everything. It's okay if some things work out, some things don't. But at least you did it. At least you did not have the regret that you didn't experiment with it or didn't attempt it. So I do lots of things, and I've always wanted to be lots of things. And that is why I am lots of things.
Yeah, you do so many things. I I wonder how you do it all. You already told me you make time, but I don't know how I would do so many things.
You can. I mean, think about it. Because you love podcasting and you love talking to so many people, you stick to a routine, don't you? Every few days, you talk to somebody, you make the time, whatever is, regardless of what happens in your day. You make the time to make those appointments and log in and talk to people. And because you love doing it, you don't realize that how much effort is going into it. That's the key to it.
Oh yeah.
Enjoy it.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. What are your hobbies?
My hobbies, so I love food. I explore a lot of food. I travel to explore restaurants and cuisines. I'm a scuba diver, so I scuba dive around the world. I love long drives. I love long drives. I can drive anywhere. And I'm also a tech enthusiast where I follow a lot of technology. I collect gadgets. I experiment with a lot of technology, whether it is hardware or software. So those are my hobbies. It's not something I've converted to a profession. But whenever I have the time, then I travel a lot. I backpack a lot. I go explore new countries, places that I've never been. I go alone. I travel on my own to a strange country, and I figure out the foods, the culture, the cuisine, the arts, the conversations, the social culture that people have over there. So yeah, so travel, tech, scuba diving, food, all of these are my hobbies.
Wow, those are some really nice hobbies.
And
I've never,
especially scuba diving. I mean, it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. So
I've never done scuba diving, but I have done parasailing.
parasailing is also lovely. But you should, when you are old enough, you should start scuba diving. It will change the way you look at the planet. It'll change the way you look at the world and yourself as well. It's a very liberating hobby.
Yeah, it sounds and looks really fun.
Yeah.
I have a few friends who've done it before. They
Hmm.
say it's really fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you, Vedant. Like I said, I'm very, very happy to speak to you and share my thoughts and interests with you. And I love the way you are continuing to do this podcast. So I wish you the very best. And thank you for having me. I'm very, very honored to be here on the podcast that was one of the sources of inspiration for me to start my own. So it's a great circle life has come.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, it was really, really fun interviewing you. I learned a lot, and I think after this, I'm gonna change my podcast a bit.
Do that. Keep upgrading, keep giving it a new format. But remember that the soul of your podcast is your honesty and your simplicity and your curiosity. As long as you retain that, you can do anything around it in the packaging, but keep the soul intact. And you will see how the podcast will keep growing and people will keep listening and your community will keep growing.
Oh, yeah, I should do that.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vedant.
Thank you. Dear listeners, follow my Facebook page, Curious Vedant, to get notified about future episodes. Subscribe by searching for Curious Vedant wherever you get your podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can also listen to my show on curiousvedant.com. Thank you for listening to Curious Vedant, and don't forget to rate and leave